You started recording.
Yes, I did. Please start with the message and then we get to discourses.
Avtar Meher Baba ki Jai. Three of Meher Baba's favorite couplets of Hafiz, a mystical Persian poet, befitting a fortunate slave, carry out every command of the master without any question of why and what. About what you hear from the master, never say it is wrong, because, my dear, the fault lies in your own incapacity to understand him. I am slave of the master who has released me from ignorance. Whatever my master does is of the highest benefit to all concerned. Hafiz. Avtar Meher Baba ki Jai.
Hafiz. So that's pronounced Hafiz. Anyway, that's Nehaji pointed out, and then I figured, yes, the right pronunciation is Hafiz.
Correct, Hafiz, right?
Yes, yes, yes. So, yeah, so I think let's first go back and see where we are. So, we are on the spirit and matter part of the reading, the theme. So we did avenues to understanding, where we were seeing the difference between the role of spirit and matter. Spirit not understood through mind, concepts of mind toward matter not inadequate for spirit. I won't go through the whole list, but that was the last chapter. And now we are going to the next one, which is live for God and die for God. Now, what does this include? Live for oh, essence of the chapter is not updated for whatever reason. Apologies. I don't know what happened to the data because it's all a template. It was automated. So anyway, that's a bug, let's say. So let's go and see it in this live for God. Oh, okay, 339. So let's just see what this includes, right? Oh, it's a very small chapter, so it's just a page. So let's go ahead, read it, and then go to the next one. Yeah. So this again is on the lines of the travails of the new order, right? So very, very short chapter, almost a message. So any volunteers for reading? Or let me read the
Okay.
first one.
Sorry.
Okay, next one, Ashok, uske baad Ashish. Uh, we are on page 339. Those of you following on the physical book, Live for God and Die for God is the chapter. This war is a necessary evil. And then there's an asterisk right there. So let's see what it is. World War II, that's the editor's input. World War II was, again, to remind everybody, 1939 to 1945. This war is a necessary evil. It is in God's plan, which is to awaken humanity to higher values. If humanity fails to profit by the lessons of the war, it will have suffered in vain. This war is teaching that even an ordinary person can rise to the greatest heights of sacrifice for the sake of a selfless cause. It is also teaching that all the mundane things of the world, wealth, possessions, power, fame, family, and even the very tenor of life on earth are transitory and devoid of lasting value. Through the lessons they bring, the incidents of war shall win man over for God, who is the truth, and they will initiate him into a new life that is inspired by true and lasting values. People are making unlimited sacrifices and enduring untold sufferings for the sake of their country or political ideology. They are therefore capable of the same sacrifices and endurance for the sake of God or the truth. All religions have unequivocally claimed man for a life in the truth. Thus, it is sheer folly to fight in the name of religion. It is time humanity had a fresh vision of the truth that all the life is one and God is the only thing that is real and that matters. God is worth living for, and He is also worth dying for. All else is a vain and empty pursuit of illusory values. I mean, what better timing to read this than 7 days after a very dastardly attack, right? I'm sure multiple people on this call were reminded of that as we were reading this. And if you remember, of course, the last time we read it, it was not the war that was in our minds, but it was the extreme end of the pandemic, right? But what you see here is obviously the things that jump out in this chapter. I mean, I'll pause. Let's get everybody's inputs. Let's see what any others have to say.
Uh, Jai Baba Karthik. So basically, it is again reminding us about the impermanence of all the other transitory things which are, you know, not not to be pursued. Says, like the mundane things of the world, wealth, possessions, power, fame, family, even the very tenure of life, and uh, and what is real and permanent is God. And the other thing which comes out is that war is the manifestation of the ego in a very aggressive manner.
Yeah. So, but let's stick to what's there in this chapter. So, it starts by saying something very unusual for war. See the line, this war is teaching that even an ordinary person can rise to the greatest heights of sacrifice for the sake of a selfless cause. What do you think of that? What is that telling?
So what I think of that is that there are people, even though there is war, there are people who are, uh, you know, looking after the sufferings, be it through Red Cross or through, be it individually, and they are sacrificing for the sake of a selfless way of, you know, showering their love for the human beings.
That may be a side post-war phenomenon. I think here the reference to greatest height of sacrifice is you offer your body, so you basically can get hurt and wounded, and the ultimate offering could be, even offering yourself as a casualty, right? So as you may actually be fatally injured in the war. So I think that's the reference here, but that's a very unusual way of talking about war, right? So Baba is always very different. So I found that jumping out. This war is teaching that even an ordinary person can rise to the greatest heights of sacrifice for the sake of a selfless cause. Now, multiple things that come here. Ordinary person, that is, I would imagine you and me, just ordinary person, a Jawan, a soldier, is rising to the greatest heights of sacrifice for the sake of a selfless cause. Now, this is again key, right? So, the journey of the Jivatma to the Shivatma is you start with selfishness and end up with selfness in all, recognition of the selfness in all. Along the way, you get through selflessness. So, what is selfless cause? You are actually doing something that's not impacting you directly, and it's a higher cause. But as we learn in the next chapter, it's not the highest cause. It's not the true value. It's a illusory value still. So, what is that illusory value? Illusory value could represent religion, It's not God, religion. It could represent nation. It could represent economic model, communism, capitalism, whatever, and so on and so forth. I think that's what I understand from this. But again, very, very profound, very small chapter, but very profound. Any other thoughts? So the good news is Trello didn't have subtitles because there are no subtitles. So I should put a line there saying there are no subtitles. Okay. So any other responses? Everybody's silent this morning. Well, grab your cup of coffee, man. And remember, it's 1.5 hours earlier in my part of town. And see Ravi, he's what time is it back at your place? Or not more than Ravi, I think. Okay, both Ravi and Ashish are almost the same time.
9:15 in the evening.
Oh, see, the voice is still coming from the bottom of his. But good, you're on.
Jai Baba.
So if we don't have anything else on live for God and die for God, because nobody wants to talk, we can go to the next chapter. Even that people do not have an opinion. So we go to live for God and die for God. Let me first mark this as done. And also say that there is no subtitles. Okay. So now the next one is Infinity of the Truth. This is a very beautiful chapter. The infinity is again one of the key things that I love in discourses or in Baba literature. He refers to it in multiple places. And this is one of the first ones. You will see it occurring again in Maya discourse number 4. So let's see the progression, right? So he starts with source of error in spiritual valuation. We'll see what that is. Then there is the idea of a mathematical infinity, truth, not goal, only for future. And then there's a concept of the eternal now, fullness of being, spiritual infinity, right? And yeah, so there's already a cross reference that we have added here, which is 384 second para on infinity. Most likely that must be Maya, right, Kama? 384 is towards the end of the book, most likely. But anyway, we will go and read that along with this. Great and grand things. Spiritual infinity comprises greatest and smallest, freedom and joy of non duality, realizing spiritual infinity through non duality. Social problems, minority and majority, indivisible totality, world of the many, the one in each and all, and civilization based in infinity of the truth. So then finally it summarizes, I mean, it ends with a para on civilization is based on infinity of truth. So pretty exciting. So by now, I hope some of you have grabbed your coffee because it's going to be exciting. And what page is it? 117.
So, Karthik, have you read the whole page? Live for God and die for God.
Yes,
Oh, okay, okay.
there were 2 paragraphs. That's all it had. So let me show you.
Yeah. I have the book. I have the book. I got it.
Yeah. So if you remember, it's just the 2 pages. The first page, I mean, the first para, he talks about the key idea of this one, right? The sacrifice. And the next one is how he moves it to God, right? So the God being the most lasting value.
So, can we read the last 3 lines? I think that's profound and probably.
Let's read the second paragraph again, no problem.
Yes, please.
People are making unlimited sacrifices and enduring untold sufferings for the sake of their country or political ideology. They are therefore capable of the same sacrifices and endurance for the sake of God or the truth. All religions have unequivocally claimed man for a life in the truth. Thus, it is sheer folly to fight in the name of religion. It is time humanity had a fresh vision of the truth that all life is one and God is the only thing that is real and that matters. God is worth living for, and He is also worth dying for. All else is a vain and empty pursuit of illusory values. So there are three references to values here, right? The first one is humanity to higher values. Then he says lasting value, devoid of lasting value. So all these things are devoid of lasting value. And again says inspired by true and lasting values. And then finally ends with all else is a vain and empty pursuit of illusory values. So this values word is again a very, very frequently occurring word. And the focus is, I mean, there's a lot of profundity, I think it is, attached to this word in discourses, and especially when read with the word true ahead of it, right? True values. So, and if you look back at it in your life, it's just that we associate thanks to the principle of Maya, we associate the wrong values all our life. So think back and you see how important this phraseology is. So if we move to true values, we are sorted. And true value at the pinnacle is nothing but our relationship with God, right? That's all there is. So anyway, I don't know why
Exactly.
I'm
Karthik,
talking too much this morning. Yeah.
that all the truth is that all life is one. There's a sentence there. The truth,
Yes.
all life is one.
Yeah. What page number was it?
Same three. Yeah,
339, right?
yeah, yeah.
All all life is one right here.
Yeah, all life is one, and God is the only thing that
Is
uh,
real and that
and
matters.
really.
So amazing little gem of a chapter, right?
Yes.
Okay. So now so it's not infinity. Yeah. So who wants to read? Ashok. Go ahead.
Karthik, are we not going in sequence or are we going?
Oh, which rock were you under, Ravi?
Huh? What?
So we went through, you were under a rock for a long time. So we went
Yeah.
through this before. So no, we are not doing this in sequence. We're doing
I'm
this
sorry?
in,
Can't hear you.
we are not doing it in sequence. We are doing it in this sequence. So it's a thematic exploration of discourses. So
Mhm.
the theme that we have chose, I mean, we are doing first is spirit and matter, which is different from what we did before. And in that, these are the following chapters. In fact, we also reorganized some of the chapters against these themes. we felt that this journey is more known to the unknown. So as you uncover and strengthen your understanding of the lower concepts, then you get better and get to the higher and higher concepts, right? So that's the idea.
All right, thanks.
Yeah. So I know this was a controversial or rather much debated topic, but
We
I
had
think
voting, politics,
yes,
all
yes,
those things raised.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
where is
I'm glad
Kama?
you
Is he still
remember.
here? The pot stirrer. Kama, is he here?
He's just being very silent after stirring all the pot.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, so if Ashok is not ready, I know Ashish offered as well, so it could be either of them starting. Ashok, go ahead.
Yeah, most the infinity of the truth. Most persons are under the impression that anything can claim to have spiritual importance must necessarily be very great from the worldly point of view. Thus, to be considered spiritual, an act must have far reaching effects or must substantially affect an extensive area of life. They are constantly judging the worth of an action by the magnitude of its consequences. Man is ordinarily so immersed in the objects of the gross world that the dimensions, magnitudes, and quantities of the gross world unconsciously creep into his estimate of spiritual worth and pervert his evaluation. The subtopic is source of error in spiritual valuation. All this,
Okay, so what does this mean? Any thoughts? So what's the error? So, um, so my understanding from this chapter is you go to the line, man is ordinarily so immersed in the objects of the gross world that the dimensions, magnitudes, and quantities of the gross world unconsciously creep into his estimate of spiritual worth and pervert his evaluation. So the point that's being made here is there is a difference. There's It's like the like Baba says, the difference between the planes, right? It's so wide a chasm between each of the planes, and the difference in scope and the impact in each of the planes is so different that you can't even explain one if you have experienced the other. In the same way, we unfortunately, the only lenses we have is the material lenses, and using that lens we always make errors in the scope and scale of spirituality, right? And that perverts our evaluation, right? So anyway, now let's get to the next one, which is mathematical infinity.
just to
So
add to what you said as an interpretation,
yeah,
so there's the world of reality and the world of illusion, which are two different worlds. Can
yeah,
we say as well?
yeah, absolutely. So in yeah, but the focus is through the world of reality you will always make wrong assumptions about the world of spirituality or
Okay,
the
okay.
world of reality. And again, here the word is reality over the choice of word. I mean, spirituality rather than reality, just for clarity.
Okay. Mathematical infinity. All this confusion is due to the fact
Just
that
just to add on, how we see and how we perceive things here, with our two eyes, and we make judgment for others and especially for ourselves. That, oh, I did this, then I mean that means I am this. So that kind of barometer which we use is absolutely incorrect, and it is a general, it is in everyone. It is seep in so deep that we just can't help it. So, and that's the entirely a false, way of looking at a human being, or what to say, to uh, be lost in that. And we think, oh, this person pray 24 hours a day, so that means he's spiritually very high, or he doesn't pray at all, so he's not spiritually very high. So all these parameters are makes us our focus goes on all this, and we don't really understand spirituality as it is.
Thank you.
That is what.
Perfect. Perfect additional commentary. I'll give you another example, right? So if you take the dream world, right? So when you're obviously awake, when you're dreaming something, when you remember the dream the next morning, I mean, you will see that you experienced um, a journey in the dream, which not just was a few minutes or a few hours. Sometimes you race through almost aging through multiple years, and you go through that all those experiences rather vividly, right? You see yourself going through a pain, or a pleasure which is lasting for a few days. Then you do this, you do that, you do so many things, and then when you get up, you realize that it was just a few minutes. But when you were in that dream, it, time was actually in a different realm. Let's face it, right? So the next time you remember a dream, try to,
That was not,
juxtapose
if
it.
you have seen something like this, then Karthik, it was not a dream. You were
Maybe a
on some other.
hallucination. Hallucination. No, but basically, the construct of what is in the spiritual world, the measurements, the scale, the ideas are very different. But and like Nehaji said, you're basically is going to see it with things which are very mundane, and try to put it in spirituality and say, oh, because of this, the person may be evolved, which is the wrong way to start with.
Actually, we don't even know our own status. We are only what we know about ourselves is the tip of the iceberg.
Yep.
So we can't even evaluate ourselves.
Absolutely. But you have a mental reference, right? So that's usually perverted valuation. So it might be either dismissive of your spiritual status, or maybe exaggerating your position in your mental reference. So that's the point that's being made. Both side,
And also, we are
both
constantly
ways.
changing.
It's sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and also we are also constantly changing too. We are not same as yesterday. We will not be same tomorrow.
True. Cool. Mathematical infinity. Sure. Did
All
I
these
see Meher Kiran unmute? You want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, the reality, what we assume is the truth, is not the truth. So that's the reality. So we always believe this is the truth, and but not that's not the truth. And Karthik, the dreams, whatever we get, somewhere I read that, or somewhere I was told that whatever is supposed to happen has happened as a dream, so it will not happen. So that's also something which I read from, came to know from Baba Lovers.
Oh,
No,
okay.
this is incomplete explanation about dreams. So just a part of it. There are many kind of, this is there
Okay.
are many books on it. So that's not Baba's. Baba said it's all like comes in under illusion. So let it be. Leave the
Yeah. So
dreams.
Got it.
there is there is a value in it, but I agree with what Nehaji said. There's a lot of I mean, there is there's tons you can do with interpreting dreams, but then you have to do it the right way.
Yeah.
And Baba has not really delved into it, but has surely acknowledged the role that it has. Right, it's one of the states for sure. Right, it's
He did.
the
He did well into the dreams too. Baba did
yeah,
well.
yeah.
I listen to it. There are three
Inter-
states, right? There's a lot in Vedanta too. Forgot the Upanishad.
yes, yes.
The two states. One is awake state where our sanskaras are full active, and then in the deep state that all the sanskaras are sleeping, where you become one with the beyond state of God. While slipping from the day state, awake state to the deep sleep state, there is a phase that takes some time for all these sanskara to settle down. And some of these sanskaras get slept fully immediately, and some still awake. It takes some time for all the sanskaras to lie down to sleep. So these unbroken pieces of these past memories come as dreams. Like my ninth class friend and I, and now my present colleague are going to a park. Such dreams, And the same thing repeats when the sanskaras starts waking up. Some sanskaras get awake faster, and some slowly. By the time we awake in the morning, completely conscious of what's happening, then all the sanskaras gets erased. That's in a nutshell the dream and the deep sleep and the awake state. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. So, got a question, follow-up question to what you said, Ravi. Two things. One, what's the best Upanishadic reference for this? That's minor. I'm more interested on what's a good specific reference for dreams. Obviously, there is reference in the supplement in God Speaks. Anywhere else where Baba has specifically delved into this in great detail?
There is
I
a
read
small
somewhere.
booklet. There is a specific small booklet on sleep.
Okay.
Yeah. Deep
That's the
sleep,
Pune
deep
Center
sleep,
published, right,
or
Nehaji? Pune Center
Pune
published.
Center has published this
Yeah.
by Anna Khandale, or I don't, by someone. That's the book is only about sleep, deep sleep.
So the gun is on our Pune member on the call. So
Yeah.
when are you
Ashok,
getting us a copy, Mr.
Yeah.
Ashok?
I just want to add this, along with the Pune Center, if you go through a chapter called "The Cycle of Sleep and Waking in Listen Humanity." Okay?
Listen, I was
That-
thinking,
That's
Listen,
chapter
Humanity
two,
has a.
and exactly page
Listen Humanity.
118 and page 120 and 21. In the 3
Awesome.
pages, Baba has explained the whole world of sleep and deep sleep and oblivion and also dreams. So, and dreams is basically subconsciousness of duality, and sound sleep is unconsciousness, and that's where you are in the God state, though you don't know it. And I think we had discussed this, but if anybody wants, or if you want on this call, we can. But it's almost 2 pages of Listen Humanity.
Excellent.
Who's talking? Who's talking?
This is Ashok Bansal.
Ashok, yeah.
Ashok, yes, that's the best source. One of the best, and partial also is in God Speaks. But Listen Humanity, I've seen to talk about it in a comprehensive way, and it's better to go to the source than smaller books that maybe I have actually that book, the small book from Pune Center. But Ashok, dream state, it's our sanskaras. Dream state is when our sanskaras are spent in the subtle world. All the dreams is happening within the subtle body and subtle world. Sometimes we remember them because our subtle body is so much at work, and many times we don't remember them, but it's all our past sanskaras. You
Correct.
said it's unconscious. Yeah, it's that. And of course, sound sleep is We go to the beyond state of God. We are completely there, but we're unconscious of it. We just don't remember anything, but we're completely there. And wakefulness is that's where we are now.
You can go behind, Karthik. I can see you scrolling. It's just page 117.
Yeah, I saw it. I'm just scrolling through the whole chapter to see what else is there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Starts at
Let's
117. Yeah.
proceed. Let's proceed with the discourse reading.
I know.
Infinity.
Yeah, we are. This
We
is
deviated.
yes, significant deviation. Thanks, Ravi. So, but useful for some. It started with the dreams comment from Meher Kiran, and more details are there in those two locations. Supplements in God Speaks, and the definitive source, like Mahu said, is Listen Humanity. Ashok ji, mathematical infinity.
Okay. All this confusion is due to the fact that man's mind is often dominated by mathematical ideas, even when it is concerned with estimates of a spiritual nature. But that which is spiritually great is different in kind from which is mathematically great. The mathematical idea of infinity is constructed by imagining the collection of an infinite number of units, each of which has a fixed and identical value of or importance. Actually, such mathematical infinity is unreachable even in imagination, because for any unimaginable number, we can conceive a number that would be still greater. Each, each unit is false if it is taken to have separate and exclusive existence or importance. The mathematical idea of infinity thus turns out to be a product of an imagination activated by false assumptions.
Amazing, right? It's just profound to the core. Two reasons with which he demolishes the most important concept in mathematics, right? He just demolishes it. He says, first one is you give the false value. In fact, I would prefer the order being the other way around. So you give a false value by saying that there is that separate existence. And second, there can never be a real imagination of infinity, because for every number in infinity, there is one above it. Right? Beautiful. Go ahead. Anybody else? Any thoughts?
So, continuing,
Yeah.
spiritual infinity is not a result of imaginative additions of the false. It is reality itself, which is perceived when false imagination is at rest. The infinity of the truth cannot suffer any increase through additions, nor can it suffer any decrease through subtractions. In fact, nothing can be added to it and nothing can be taken away from it, because it is all inclusive and leaves no room for any other small or great. It is immeasurable, indivisible, and integral. The infinity, the infinity of the truth remains unaffected by any changes in the universe. All that happens in the universe is phenomenal and as such amounts to zero from the viewpoint of the truth. An earthquake, for example, is regarded as an appalling and disastrous calamity by the worldly minded because of the immense destruction of life and property it brings. However, even a calamity like this cannot in any way touch the infinite truth, which is at the heart of reality. In fact, the spiritual infinity of the truth does not suffer any limitation, even in the entire, even if the entire universe is dissolved. Therefore, it is futile to measure it in terms of what is great according to the standards of the world. The illusion that most aspirants find difficult to shake is the belief that infinite truth is an object that has to be attained in some distant future, and all life is just a means for this attainment. If truth were to be confined only to the future and not to the past or present, it would not be infinite. it would at once become limited as an event that has its origin in time. All that life is and has is at once deprived of intrinsic significance if it is comes to be regarded as merely instrumental to some far off event. This is definitely a false point of view. The subtitle is Truth, Not Goal, Only for Future.
Again, amazing, profound concept, right? And we always make this error in judgment. So we say truth is for the future. And again, on a lighter note, I was guilty of doing this, and I might have mentioned this earlier. My brother used to bring up Vedanta discussions with me when I was much younger, and every time I used to push him away, saying, "Hey, this is not the time. I'll come to you and talk about Vedanta some other time." Maybe I was not ready, but I was reminded of that when I saw the future. It's not something that's left to be in the future alone. But of course, the profundity in the previous para is much higher. As I said, this is in lighter vein. Ashok, eternal now.
Yes.
If you read
Eternal-
Baba's literature, you know most
Mhm.
of the Vedanta. Actually, but we
Yeah,
know much more. Actually, we know much more in Baba's literature than that was explained in Vedanta.
of course. Of course.
Yeah, Vedanta is the closest to Baba's teaching, Baba's words, in
Correct.
terms of, yeah. One
And
thing I
specifically
wanted to
Advaita.
share,
And also,
Yeah.
yeah,
Sufism
Advaita,
too.
yeah.
Sufism too. Baba
Yeah,
used more Sufi
Sufism, you're
words
right.
than
Yeah, yeah, Vedanta and Sufism, you're right. Yeah. You know, this is this passage is very important because I myself has been challenged by it um, so much, many times, because we are in the world. We're in the world. Uh, where I am is too much Maya. The height of Maya is Hollywood, Los Angeles. You name it. All these people, so much illusion, so much illusion. So at times I find myself to be very disturbed, and I see that it's not real and it's all illusion, but there's nothing I can do about it. But I know that if I had a lifestyle that I could sit down and meditate and calm my mind, which Baba always talks about it. Here it says tranquil mind. You live a much better, calmer, and more, content life compared to all the rush, all that so-called achievement work, this, that, you know. So, I mean, we could have a gist of spirituality because we really cannot get to know the real spirituality because we possess the false mind. In Infinite Intelligence, there are many chapters that talks about this. We just can't. It's just that you have a car that cannot go beyond 50, 60 miles, right? How can you go like speed with it to 90, 100? You can't, because the car is made or is equipped to just go by that much acceleration. So ourselves, our being, our false being. Mahu is a false being. Kartik is a false being. We're not real. In fact, Baba says we don't even exist. I mean, as this illusory notion, we just don't exist. What exists is our eternal soul within us that is invisible, that is unattributed, that cannot be defined. It doesn't have no form, nothing, right? So we just constantly need to remind ourselves that this is not real, this is not real, and if we really capture that, then we don't get disturbed by the currents of life. and our mind is much calmer, more geared toward Baba and God and spirituality, like that. Anyway, I
Well
just
said.
wanted to make this comment.
I just
I
want to
I
add,
I I I have a kinship with you, Mahu. I live in Dubai, and I was telling Ashish yesterday on a call, saying this is the extreme end of illusion, right? Everything around you in Dubai is illusory, right? So I was so reminded
Yes,
when you said
yeah,
Hollywood,
yes,
right? So it's the same thing. Everything is false. It's the most extreme fall of forms of falseness and association of false values. And I don't know why I'm stuck here. I mean, Baba decides, but well, but it's much more easier, like you said, if you step back to a zone where you don't have so much falseness surrounding you. So there is merit to earlier, older practice of monasteries and
yeah,
sacrifice and renunciation. There's a value to it because that helps
yeah.
you to shape the mind.
Absolutely.
Sorry,
I think they are, I think people who live in monastery, even people who live in India. I mean, I'm talking Merawat, Pune, maybe some part of Bombay or bigger city, Delhi, and so forth is, but mostly India is also, it's
Better,
just, yeah, because you can feel the energy. You can feel the
no
energy.
doubt.
I've always examined myself. Like when I
I'm
go to
sorry.
India, as
Uh,
soon as I get off the airplane, it's so, I mean, first I thought, oh, I'm imagining. And then I did it the next trip and next. As soon as I get off the airplane and I walk, it's a long walk to get to where your, like suitcase are and crystals and all that. As soon as I get there, off of the airplane, like the energy drops. And then I have a deep, you know, a deep inhale and exhale. So, whew, you know, so you
Yeah,
can really feel the energy being calmer, more settled, more, yeah. Anyway,
I'm sorry,
that's,
yeah, Ravi.
Karthik and Mahu, you guys are far away in imagination and illusion. The rest of them, rest of us are very close to Baba, very, very close to reality.
Don't
And as
don't
not in
I,
use your
physicality, not in
don't use your
physicality. You have to
oh
be
my
close to
goodness.
Baba inwardly, inwardly,
All right.
inwardly.
So the thing is, whether I'm in Peoria or Bombay or Mehrabad, we are all in illusion. One thing we have to realize. Mahu, you
That's
might
true.
feel calm when you go to India, but that's different. Temporarily, you feel excited. I feel excited when I go to India. That's because I'm from India. That's different. But still, we are in illusion.
so
But what is important is whether we are in deep imagination, whether you are in Los Angeles, Hollywood, or Bombay, or any small town, Mehrabad, how we react to the situation, how we react to the environment, that makes a big difference. That's all it makes a difference. And what we need is to maintain calmness, to feel Baba, whether you are uh, in a rush, in a 12-lane car, morning 8 o'clock traffic, or walking in Mehrabad Hill for a 7 o'clock arti. It should be same. It should be same. How we react, how we feel Baba within our heart, where we project ourselves, that makes a big difference. There's a great saying in Vedanta. It's called Yadadrusti Tada Sristi. That means wherever you focus, that's where you are creating. So wherever we are, whether we are in Los Angeles or Mehrabad, our uh, our peace comes by focusing on remembering Baba. That's all I want to say. Jai Baba.
Thank you, Mahu. Thank you, Ravi. Yeah, interesting conversation. Eternal now.
Yes.
Ashok.
I just
Merkiran, you want to say something?
Yeah, I want to say that
Oh, sorry.
we had this reference earlier. So
Yeah, yeah.
life, just like a movie, a dream, and
Mhm.
reference of Hollywood or Bollywood. But then ultimately, life is just a illusion, which I think Mahu brought up, which is relevant. But and what Ravi said, I think it ends with how you calm your mind with mindfulness. And then we also have a chapter on yoga and meditation, which can help other tools for the mindfulness path.
See, I,
Uh,
I
Yeah,
don't
they're
want to
all,
belabor I don't want
yeah.
to belabor the point and respond to Ravi, but I and Mahu know exactly what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
I could
It's
have been
tough.
happier
It's
opening the
really
door.
tough.
Yeah, I can be happier opening the door in Mehrabad than opening the door out to get here, get out of
Oh,
my house here. Right. So it's easier said than done. But Ravi, well taken. Your points well taken. But then the problem is real for for me and Mahu.
Yeah. Ravi, there is a difference between, I need to make this comment.
Sure.
There's a difference between, I mean, your point is well taken, right? I mean, definitely that's where we're heading. That's what, but there's a difference between what it is and what it should be. Now, the question is, do we really leave the standard and then all the teaching that Meher Baba asked us to do? For me, I don't, and I've been with him for over 30 years because it's the damn sanskaras that we have, right? The sanskaras, it all depends on how heavy that baggage is that we're carrying along. But the good news is we have Baba. I mean, look at the world, look at all this madness right now going on and all the things that going on. And imagine that we don't have to go there. We have Baba to come to and ask him to rescue us, to shield us, to help us, you know. And Baba does, of course, Baba does. But, you know, it's like exercise, it needs practice. Remembering Baba,
Yeah.
it needs practice. We just got to, like, that's why a Saturday night I come to these meetings. I'm just figuring out this is the best way for me to spend the night, you know, and things like that. So we just make an effort, and then Baba says, I'll help you. I will help you, you know, like that. Anyway, thank you for the comment.
Jai
Merkiran?
Meher Baba. Jai Meher Baba. I would like to add something.
Sure.
I am basically from Mumbai. From last few months, I was in Pune, and right now I'm in Mehrabad. I'm really in bliss right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I hear you.
it does. Yeah, that location, the city, the overall energy, or there is a every city has its own group energy, you can say, and that reflects.
Yeah.
You just can't say that I'm sitting here in front of Baba, so the outside energy is not going to touch me. So, yes, it does make a difference when you are in a calmer place because you are not accumulating more.
Yes.
You know, every day when you are in
Your
Mumbai,
opportunities
no
are lesser.
matter how much for 24 hours, if I'll, take Baba's name, but as soon as I'll go out and comes back, I have loads and loads of sanskaras with me, unknowingly, without me doing anything. The people around, their energy, their mind energy, their aura, everything reflects. So yes, it does make a difference where you are presently. It helps a lot. Like Sanjay ji, I am sure, being in Mehrabad, and I have seen many people like Gokaran and those who understand this very well. So it does make a difference. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Kiran?
Yeah, actually, I think probably there are many Baba lovers, but in Bangalore, we have two Baba lovers they were looking into Vedanta and There are a lot of queries, doubts about trying to understand that. And when they Googled, they were pointed to Baba's literature. They read Baba's literature and they became Baba lovers. So yeah, so I think we can
Oh,
find a lot
absolutely.
of yeah, we can find a lot of Baba lovers who were trying to find something on Vedanta and became and they were pulled by Baba.
Oh, absolutely. Like it's beyond Vedanta, and where Vedanta ends, Baba picks it up and continues. But
Yes.
like
Yep.
Mahu said, it's also the closest uh, in completeness and in scope to what Baba's theme is, divine theme.
Right. Right.
Okay, cool,
Hey, Baba.
great. Jai Baba. Ashok, eternal now. It is now that we can start on eternal now. Ashok, you're on mute.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Life is not meant to be rich in spiritual significance at some distant date, but it can be so at every moment if the mind is this burden of illusions. Only through a clear and tranquil mind is the true nature of spirituality, of spiritual infinity grasped, not as something that is yet to be, but that already has been, is, and ever will be eternal self-fulfillment. When every moment is rich with eternal significance, there is neither the lingering, clinging to the dead past, nor a longing, expectation for the future, but an integral living in the eternal now. Only through such living can the spiritual infinity of the truth be realized. This is great. I just want to read that highlighted portion again.
Sure.
Only through a clear and tranquil mind is the true nature of spiritual infinity grasped, not as something that is yet to be, but that already has been, is, and ever will be eternal self-fulfilling.
Okay, the
And
next one is fullness of being. Yeah.
it is, yeah, for the last page. Yes, thank you. It is not right to deprive the present of all importance by subordination or by subordinating it to an in the future. For this means the imaginary accumulation of all importance in the imagined future rather than the perception and realization of the true importance of everything that exists in the eternal now. There cannot be an ebb and flow in eternity, no meaningless intervals between intermittent harvests, but a fullness of being that cannot suffer impoverishment for a single instant. When life seems to be idle or empty, it is not due to any curtailment of the infinity of the truth, but to one's own lack of capacity to enter into its full possession.
Karti, can we read this paragraph a little bit slower? I think I missed it, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Yeah, it is not. Yeah. Please read it a little bit in a slower tone so we can grasp it. Thank
Okay.
you.
It is not right to deprive the present of all importance by subordinating it to an end in the future. For this means the imaginary accumulation of all importance in the imagined future rather than the perception and realization of the true importance of everything that exists in the eternal now. There cannot be an ebb and flow in eternity, no meaningless intervals between intermittent harvests, but a fullness of being that cannot suffer impoverishment for a single instant. When life seems to be idle or empty, it is not due to any curtailment of the infinity of the truth, but to one's own lack of capacity to enter into its full possessions.
Okay.
We can connect this with the three sayings of Hafiz. The third one, which says that the master appears when the slave is ready. Something of that effect, I think. So it's our own incapacity to, uh,
Yeah, that's the third one. The third one is, I am
yeah.
slave of the master who has released me from ignorance. Whatever my master. Oh, sorry, that's not incapacity. I am slave of the master who has released. Which one were you thinking?
Yeah, the second one.
That's by
About what?
Kabir. That's by Kabir.
This Hafiz.
Uh,
No,
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 that
by
this
he.
is the three
when the
couplets of
disciple is
Hafiz.
ready, master will appear. It is by Kabir and by many also.
Many.
In yeah,
Okay.
Sufis or term also they use.
Okay.
Anyway, I think let's get back to this fullness of being. How is that linked to what you're trying to say?
So basically, we have to be ready to absorb the reality, or to understand the significance of the reality. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Any other thoughts? Any other interpretations of this? Kama, you've been quiet.
Karma is there.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I can't. No, there's no question. And yes, your audio is really bad. I was just curious to check whether you're sleeping or awake. You're surely in a noisy place. I hardly heard what you said. So the point that's being made here is the all-encompassing nature of. So first, so it's basically two things that are getting explained about reality, right? So the first one is the eternal now. From the time standpoint, the idea of how reality and time are connected. So first is the truth is not a goal for the future. Then you explain that it's not something in the future, then it's always on. It's eternal now. In the same way, here the reference is to the infinity, the scope of the truth being all encompassing. That's what I'm taking away, right? So you have this all. So in a vague sense, you can say time, and in the sense of space, it's completely all encompassing, right? Any other?
I make a comment, Karthik.
Sure.
I think this is also very important to note that, like beside eternal now, sometimes, and it's all in our mind, we think, oh, I'm not really advanced enough, I'm not mature enough to really get to really take the truth within or completely grasp it and so forth. So maybe 10 years from now or this and that, I'll be much more mature in this spirituality or Baba's love or getting to know the truth and so forth. Whereas like what Baba says, if we really consider that this life that is given to us, it's really a gift. It's only through this life that we can reach God. It's only through this illusion that sometimes, maybe 5 minutes before, I was really cursing the illusion. But at the same time, we got to consider that through this very illusory life is when we reach our Godhood. It's just a duality. In duality, the opposition has to be there. When there is a light, the darkness has to be there. Look at Baba's life and all the resistance and objection he was receiving in every second, every minute of his life. It was there. So same for us. And so what we need to consider is that this right now, let's see, what is this now has in a store for me? what can I get from this moment, this time, this discourse meeting, this conversation? Take it all in. Take it all in. In other words, we shouldn't really disregard the events in our lives. We can really learn from it. Anything that happened. Oh, that's what it meant. Oh, okay. Now I got it, Baba. Now, Baba, I got it. Like that. So, it just says that in a small thing, there might be a truth hidden. In the great and grand things, definitely there are truth. So, like that.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, if there's no other comment, we can continue with great and grand things.
Just as it is not right to save up all spiritual importance for some anticipated future, it is equally not right arrogate it exclusively to things that create much ado. The great and grand things of life are not the only ones surcharged with spiritual meaning. A thing need not be unusual or particularly striking in order to be spiritually significant. The unusual and the striking exist relative to the usual and habitual, and they are not in themselves necessarily representative of absolute spiritual beauty. Thus, it is not necessary for an individual to give huge sums of money for a cause in order to be spiritually great. A poor person may be unable to do this and yet be nonetheless spiritual if he gives what he can. It is not the amount that endows the gift with spiritual meaning, it is the spirit in which it is given. In fact, a large donation may often be accompanied with pride or selfish motive, and then it loses its spiritual value. Even a small gift given with humility and utterly unselfish love is endowed with greater spiritual value.
So I think the key thing which I'd like to actually mark out is this: a thing need not be particularly striking in order to be spiritually significant. Because again, if you go back to the first para in this discourse, that's the kind of point that's being made here. So it's not necessary to do the big things. It's not necessary to do the flashy stuff, even from a spiritual standpoint, to make any kind of impact. Yeah. Anyway, spiritual infinity comprises greatest and smallest.
Spiritual life is not a matter of
Jay Baba,
Sure.
uh, sometimes, it helps in expanding mind energies. Baba send us to these places, to big cities, or the kind of job you're doing, or Raviji. It helps in expanding mind energy. So it is not that you are not doing something out of Baba's will.
Oh,
So this point is
nothing is
also
outside Baba's will,
ha,
but
ha. So
as
this is
Bab
also need to be in consideration, that it somehow helps to expand your mind energy and capacities, and which will eventually helps you in spirituality.
and it's also sanskaras, right? Why is Ravi in Peoria? Why is Mahu in California? Why am I temporarily in Dubai? It is because of our
Most
sanskaras.
definitely,
And
yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
so and sanskaras, and it's Baba's will that we go through the experiences that we are going through here to hopefully make the best of it and make a progress rather than regress, right? So yeah, there's nothing that you're not learning from. There's nothing that cannot add to your journey, but how you do it and how you react to the context that you're offered is the test every
Correct,
minute.
correct, correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wanted to raise one point sometime back only regard when we were talking about the
Test
illusion
or
and all.
learning
California,
is a better word.
California,
It's a
Texas
learning,
now.
not a
Sorry, Neha.
test.
Neha, go
There
ahead.
is no test. Sorry, there are no tests. It's learning. It's every time
Learning,
learning.
learning. Yeah, yeah. Correct. Texas now. How's the illusion scene? Ashish.
Yeah, no. My question was about the hobbies, right? Many
Yeah,
people have the hobbies of, suppose, like someone like the traveling, right, to see the culture. Anyone may have any hobbies. So, okay, means illusion is a separate thing, and hobbies might also come into the picture, right? That may not be the related to spirituality. Suppose, as I given one example, as a traveling, many people like the traveling. They like to see the different culture, different lifestyle, different people, different food, right? Or some
yeah,
may like to read the some people may like the different kind of music which is not related to spirituality, right? Like in ISKCON, they don't support very loud music, but some may like the loud music also. So what will be the, like, if I'm talking about the hobbies, right? I will not say it's a possessiveness about any such hobby, but many people have their own hobbies. So will it comes under the illusion as well?
You
Because
leave it all of them immediately.
Kartik, I
um,
like to make a comment.
sure, sure. Go ahead.
No, you wanted to say something after you.
Yeah, yeah. So all I said was, I don't think we have to take the extreme step of leaving all yeah, hobbies or disregarding them. It is what you want to make out of it. Whenever I think of art, I think of Francis Brabazon and his masterful explanation and contextualizing of art. He says art has nothing to do in the world if it's not talking about God. So, how can your hobbies get us closer? How can your hobbies be aligned to Baba? How can your hobbies help you explore the true nature of the true values in life? So those are the things that I would ask you to think about, Ashish, rather than giving up on it. So it's a hobby is a good way of relaxing the mind, right? A hobby is a good way of sharpening some faculties and is a good way of spending time rather than more mundane and more illusory stuff. So that's my take. And Kama has his hands up, but after Mahu and then Kama.
Can I say something else too?
Okay, sure, but
Okay.
we'll go in order. Mahu.
Yeah, very good comment, Kartik. Is everything that we do is due to our past samskaras. Like Baba says, the way that you pick up the spoon and put food in your mouth, the way you even raise your hand, the way. So, and we go through different stages in our lives. I'm sure you all have experienced it. I have myself. Like, look at what happened with COVID. Baba brought COVID, and then there was all this staying home and doing work from home and not really going out so much. So that opened a new horizon somehow to people that, yes, you can be home, be content with yourself. It's not like rush, drive here, drive there, go, just do it more focused in a more focused way. So Baba is working on it. But at the same time, with the hobby and so forth, like what Kartik said, Erich have this very nice example. This is, have you seen these women, in India when, or some of the villagers when they walk by, they have this big
Pots. The
pot,
water and the
yeah,
pots. Yeah.
yeah, on their head. I don't know how to really name that, but if you really, what, no matter what happened, and even if they come across a big stone, even if they come across some pothole in, where they're heading or where they're going, the focus on this thing on their head won't go away. I mean, they're masterful. Sometimes I try to remember that myself. Is like, what if we really remember Baba, if we realize that he is the only inner dweller, he is the only inner dweller within us. He's doing everything, right? And just remembering that, we're way ahead of the game. No matter what we do, we go hobby, we go cinema, we go to dancing, we go no matter what, you know. So, but we need to really get there. It's a discipline that we need to possess eventually. Yeah, thank you.
Well said. Well said. Well said. Kama, your turn. Oh,
Jai Baba, there will be some background noise. Can you hear me?
yeah. Now it's much better. Please go ahead.
Okay, great. I'm using a chord thing. So, there is a line out here which says, "Does a smile or a look stands on the same level as offering one's life for a cause, when the smile or the look springs from truth consciousness." So, what I understand out here is that everything you do with the self in mind, with what Baba says in my wish, when you're happy, Baba wants you to be happy. And also, we have to understand that Baba is the messenger of God. He's the first human being who became God. Realize we know that the chairman emeritus, he's a coach. And as Mao said, he's our innermost loving self, which is the realized self, which is there in all of us. So the question out here is that, is it possible for us to do each and every act in our life, the action of thoughts, action of words, action of deeds, from the time we wake up in the morning till the time we go to sleep, with complete self-awareness and meditation? For me, meditation means doing everything with self-awareness every waking moment, whether you're brushing your teeth or doing a very important project. So also I have repeated this, the way to love God, and we are talking about infinity. And we know from the seven realities, infinity is one of the seven aspects of God. As Baba says, the only real existence, which is the self. So you have existence, self, love, truth, infinity, and I've added being and probably infinite intelligence as the seven aspects of God. It all depends on the context. The question out here is that we can talk about what Baba said this and all that, but it's very clear in his messages, the seven awakenings. Are we able to follow that as a checklist in our daily life? I think that's how I'm approaching how to love God, because being a male, as Baba said, men excel in the qualities of mind and will, women excel in the qualities of the heart, but mind and heart have to balance each other. So in material life, we have to have the balancing act. And that is by following the universal laws of nature and hopefully following all the checklists in the Baba messages. And when you're talking about infinity, the mathematical infinity is only in the material world. But the infinity that he's talking about is basically the eternal now, because there is only existence. All these are just symbolic representations, Jai Baba.
Yeah, a lot packed in, but all of it relevant. Thanks, Kama. Very good. Um, Ravi? Oh, you have your hands down, so you changed your mind. Okay. Let's continue.
No, give me
Yeah,
a
okay.
second. I
Sure.
thought Kama was talking. That's why, not to disturb him, I brought my hand down.
Okay.
Was that Ashish who mentioned about hobbies and traveling and
Yes.
all that stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing wrong in doing all those things. Nothing wrong. Anything we can do. But only thing is, are we doing it, being in the spiritual life, are we doing it for our own satisfaction, or are we doing anything for the sake of, for our love for Baba? That makes a huge difference. Walking the spirituality is to drop off ourself bit by bit. That's the only thing that will help us to love Baba more and more. The third prayer, Beloved God prayer, more and more and still at more till we become worthy of union with you. How do we love Baba more? We'll, if we ask all of us will say, yeah, we are loving Baba. But why does Baba say to love him more and more and more and more and still at more? That's because our self is involved in everything we do. So our task is, I mean, Kama explained very well uh, what to follow, but still going bottommost is our I consciousness is the one which is coming in the way between you and the God. But how do we reduce it? That is our problem, right? And again, we have to use the same I consciousness to limit our I consciousness so that we get closer to Baba. That is our tasks. That's what we need to do. The only way is to keep loving Baba and giving more preference to loving Baba, understanding how to love Baba, how to surrender, how to be obedient. If we make our life goal in everything what we do to please Baba, whether you go on a vacation, whether you're gambling, just to please Baba, that's what the end result, if we give it to him, that will help us. I just want to comment on that. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. So practical tips and techniques. Yeah. Yeah, Ashish. Okay, you just said Jai Baba. All right. Ashok, spiritual infinity.
Yeah. Spiritual infinity comprises greatest and smallest. Spiritual life is not a matter of quantity, but of inherent quality of living. Spiritual infinity includes in its scope all phases of life. It comprises acts that are great as well as acts that are small. Being greater than the greatest, spiritual infinity is also smaller than the smallest, and it can equally express itself through happenings, irrespective of whether they are outwardly small or great. Thus, a smile or a look stands on the same level as offering one's life for a cause when the smile or the look springs from truth consciousness. There are no gradations in spiritual importance when all life is lived in the shadow of eternity. If life were to consist only of big things, and if all little things were to be omitted from its scope, it would not only be finite, but would be extremely poor. The infinite truth, which is latent in everything, can reveal itself only when life is seen and accepted in its totality. Freedom and joy of non-duality. Limitation comes into existence owing to ego-centered desires and self-will. Possessiveness in all its forms leads to a life of limitation. For example, if one covets the love of someone, but instead of winning the love of that person, loses it to another, there ensues a narrowing down and strangling of the free life of the spirit, and one has an acute consciousness of limitation. This is the origin of pain of suffocating jealousy. But even if one looks at the situation with a heart purged of longing, the love that is received by the other will be seen in its natural beauty. In the clarity of perception that comes through non-possessiveness, one will not only taste the freedom of non-duality, but also its joy. When someone else receives that love, it is like oneself receiving it, since no longer does one insist upon the claims of a single form, having identified oneself with life in all its forms.
Easier
Realize
said than done. Easier said than done, but basically, it's accepting the commonality. I mean, again, going to the true values. Yeah, but easier said than done in practical day-to-day life. Can you love your son the same way as you love every child in his class.
Oh, yes. Fair point, Karthik, and it's easier said than done. And but there's a lot of uh, you know uh, wealth of suggestions and knowledge in what was said in the last paragraph. It's easy, and you have to actually get rid of your ego in all forms to reach that stage where you can, as you said, love or show the same affection for another child as you would do for your own son.
Yes.
Fair point. Uh, Realizing spiritual infinity through non-duality. In non-duality, there is freedom from limitation as well as the knowledge and appreciation of things as they are. In non-duality alone is there the realization of the true spiritual infinity that secures abiding and unfading bliss. The limitation of jealousy is like all other limitations, such as anger, hate, cravings. They are all of one's own creation. All finitehood and limitations are subjective and self-created. With the surrenderance of self-will and ego-centered imagination, there arises a true perception of the infinite worth of that which is, INS in capital.
I think this is worthy of being marked out. Yeah. Go ahead.
Social problems. When the infinity of truth is adequately grasped from the point of view of non-duality, this understanding also becomes fruitful for the adequate solution of social problems based on duality as an irreducible fact. Mere manipulation of numbers, however clever, can neither yield the right adjustment between the individual and society, nor can it yield true harmony between various groups that come to exist within the society. If, if social claims of a general nature are determined by the considerations of a small minority, the interests of the vast majority remain unreconciled, and the majority remains inevitably in rivalry and opposition to the minority. On the other hand, in democratic countries, the claims of a general nature are determined by consideration of the majority viewpoint rather than the minority. The subtopic is minority and majority. This point of view, however, is still within the domain of duality, where the many exist, and therefore the problem of minorities remains unsolved. Since their interests remain unreconciled, the minority remains inevitably in rivalry and opposition to the majority. Indivisible reality. As long as a social problem is dominated by the idea of numbers and multiplicity, there is no lasting solution for it. The lasting solution can only come when it is illuminated by the truth of the indivisible totality and the intrinsic unity of all. The one in all cannot be contacted through the multiplicity of the many, but only by shedding the false idea of the many. Any number, however great, is bound to be finite. Spiritual infinity is not a number, however great. It is the sole reality without rival. So, allow me, Karthik, to add. I think the tagline of what we led is that all are one. We all are one.
Sure. So I see two hands up. So we'll probably pause here from a reading standpoint, but take in the two comments. Mahu first.
Yeah, this is actually very, very important. I didn't know that this was in Discourses. I kind of missed it, but I know that it's in another book that Bakal Churi wrote, Spiritual Training. It's in there. This is actually very much practiced in the society and particularly in the West, right? The concept of voting, the concept of the voting of majority, like considering, 70 in favor, and so it maximized to, compare to 20. So we go by the majority. But what Baba is really talking about here, and that always have bothered me, particularly because that even is practiced, this principle is even practiced in Baba organizations, right? I'm sure the same thing happens in trust, but I know I experienced it fully in Los Angeles Baba Center. I was there for 25 years. And no matter what, like sometimes, out of 7 board members, 5 people were in favor and 4, like 2 wasn't, or, like 3 and 4. The majority was 4 and the minority was 3. But it was bogus. It was just the hands of, that's where right now in society, in Western world, in government, in this, that's why Baba calls it social problem. It brings politics, it brings bribery, it brings a lot of nonsense because they want to buy votes. Why? Because it goes by majority rules. Whereas Baba says the intrinsic value of the truth does not have anything to do with numbers. So I hope that one day this really changes, that, people chooses the truth based on the value of the truth, not because of the numbers.
Numbers. Yeah. So I think
Yeah.
the most stark thing that the democratic models have is, let's say somebody wins with a 51% majority. Just remember that 49 people actually didn't like him, right? So it's a very big deal. It gets worse when you go to the Westminster model of polling, which is first past the post. It's called electorally, that concept is called first past. It's number of votes within 100, right? So if there are multiple candidates, the winner will just need to get more than the other guys. So if he gets 33% and there are too many candidates with smaller percentages, you are left wondering if it's even a fair way of election, right? So only 33 or 34% probably liked this guy, and there's 60+% that didn't want this person, right? But we don't have alternate efficient models today, so we have to live with this. But yeah, Kawa. Kama?
Yeah, Jay
Yeah.
Papa. I think if you look at this last sentence that we read about the spiritual infinity of the truth, the name of the chapter is Infinity of the Truth. Whereas he talks, that line comes across as spiritual infinity of the truth. And as I said earlier, infinity, truth are different aspects of so called the word God.
Yeah.
The other part I wanted to mention was when Ravi spoke about the I consciousness. I think one solution that Baba has given is the provisional working ego.
Working ego, exactly.
So
I was
I
thinking of the
should
same.
thank Ravi for that. So if we can follow the checklist of the 7 awakenings, how to love God, my wish, the 3 prayers, the 3 Hafiz sayings, the 7 realities, the 7 Sahava sayings, and the 12 ways of realizing God. And I also read the 3 essays Lover and the Beloved, which is about Bhakti Yoga, Purposelessness in Infinite Existence, and Forgive and Forget. So those three essays and these 7 awakenings has helped me to connect with Baba in terms of how to love God. So I think to add what Ravi said, the provisional working ego is one way of being able to connect with him. Jai Baba.
It's a very good tool. Yes.
Jai Baba Kama.
All right. So we'll wrap up on that note and connect back in the coming week. We will continue with Mehra on Saturday and go to discourses on Sunday. Yeah.
Karthik, if people are interested, I want to give 1 minute story about Upasni Maharaj.
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's this is actually a kind of famous saying by him. So in 1919, Gulmai, right, Adi Senior's mother, that Baba said she is my spiritual
Spiritual
mother.
mother.
Yeah, the actual, yeah. So at that time, Gulmai was Upasni Maharaj's disciple, and was in Sakuri, would go to the ashram and visit him and so forth. So one time, she had so much longing to be with him, and this is before meeting Baba. And Upasana Maharaj, of course, was a Sadguru. So one time she kept on crying to Upasni, saying, "Oh, I want to come and live with you. This life is bad. I don't want to be in this. I don't want to. I just want to be with you. I want to live the ashram life and so forth." And although she was very crying and agonizing and so forth, Upasni did not agree and told her, "Look, living with me in this ashram does not give you a good spiritual training as much as the world do. But you need to live in the world," he said, "but do not have any attachment. Work on your attachment and so forth." And he used this sentence, "Remain untouched like oil in the water." You see, when we put the oil in the water, it always stay on surface. It doesn't go in because of its nature. So if we really consider this visually, the world being the illusion, the world would be, this worldly attachment and all that is out there. And the oil, we become like an oil. We go to the world, we be in the world, but don't get entangled to it. Just stay detached, secluded, although physically you might be there, but mentally, spiritually, you're totally elsewhere. So I thought of sharing this.
Thank you. That's what we need most. So, yeah, be in the world, but not of it. Right. So, absolutely. Thank you very much. On that note, we wrap up. Yeah, there's a message from Kiran. Just 1 second. Let's see what it is.
Yeah, I think Baba's stating the same thing. You have to live in the world, but be detached with that.
Yeah, let me just share this. Yeah. Yeah, internal renunciation is necessary, but not external renunciation. It's not the outward escape from the world that leads you to God. You have to live in the world, do all your duties, and yet feel as detached as you were living in seclusion in the midst of intense activity. How can you renounce this body and mind by retiring into the jungles? Okay, Baba, Dubai, here I come. All right. So, on that note,
Be in the world, be in Dubai, and be in Los Angeles. That's what Baba meant.
Be in Peoria, be in Texas, be in Bangalore, be in Pune, be all
Be
over
in
the world,
Ahmedabad.
Kama, and stay with Baba. Jai Baba.
Yes.
Jai
Jai
Baba.
Jai
Jai
Baba.
Baba.
Jai Baba.
Okay, Baba.
Jai Baba.